again, I mentioned is a postponed to the afternoon on the uh half past half past two because it's that I because we take the photo on the for the beginning in the beginning already. And don't forget to the register on the register form in the as the as the link as the follow in the Zoom chat because it's that in in this Zoom had the participant, the member of participant of the is the 40 people, but is the information from the list register form have the 32%. Okay, if the people that done the register, please complete the register as the following in the Zoom chat. Okay. Okay. Okay, I will take the photo again because have the many people to turn on the camera. Okay, one, two, three. Okay, next place. Okay, okay. อาจารย์คันชิส become okay. One, two, three. Instead another place. Either one, two, three. Okay, thank you everybody. Okay, take a break and come back to see again in the 10:45.
Okay, no?
Okay.
Are there any questions? Not now. Okay. The next requirement is on the number 7, the process. The 7.1 on the establishing, contacting, and communicating of the PT scheme. The 7.1.1 on the review, request, tender, and contract. The PTP shall have a procedure for the review of the request, tender, and contract that shall ensure on the objective requirements, the capability and resources, the technically appropriate taken into account of the application in the field. So this is the one that did not change. I think the PTP shall already have this item. So just change the number again. No? 7.1.1.2 on the review shall cover all aspects of the request, including any external provided product and service. And again, if you have the external provided product and service, you also need to review. The record of such the review, including any significant change, shall be retained. And record shall be retained of the permanent discussion with a customer related to their requirements or the result of the PT activity. The customer shall be informed of any deviation from the contract. So if you have something that changed from the contract before, so you can have to have some record, some documented that you communicate with them. If the request or contact is amended after the PTP is underway, the contact shall be repeated. So after you have something that you change, so you have to inform. Let's say the time that you report. Let's say you planning to do report in September, but the time is cannot finish, so you have to inform. You have to do the contract or to have the record that you already communicate with them on the how you change the contact and deviation from the contact. 7.1.2 on the communication. The PTP shall make detailed information available about the PT scheme to the participant and customer. The information shall include the objective and relevant detail of the PT scheme, the criteria to meet the participant, the criteria for determine the assigned value and evaluation of performance, confidential arrangements, typical timeline, any fee, participant, detail, and how to apply. So from this communication, usually you may have the PT plan, you have PT scheme, that I think the PTP that you have in the document it already have, but some part that you need to communicate with the participant or with the customer. So you have to add something more. Let's say from the fee that may be in the time in the PT scheme or PT protocol, or it depends on you call that the PT plan. This is like in the PT plan. So, but this one you need to communicate with them. The participant and customer shall be advised in a timeline manner with the PTP of any change in the PT design or operation. This is again when you change something, so you need to communicate with them. record the relevant communication between them. This is the one that assessor, when you change something, the assessor intended to have the document or the record that you communicate. For example, if you use the telephone to calling to the participant, so it means you have to have some record that you how to communicate with them by phone, by mail. By mail is already okay, but by line or WhatsApp, I think it may not suitable. No? Line and WhatsApp is a program that it's the application that they may disappear when you didn't use sometime. So officially, I think email acceptable, or you record by yourself, but you have to write some information, what the topic that you communicate with them, what is the commitment, what is the deviation that you have. Okay, the 7.2 on the design and planning. This is also from the Dr. Dan. No? On the this number, they add the note to consider the requirement of any relevant standard. The note is when designing and planning the PT scheme, the relevant standard and other requirements specific to the objective of the PT scheme can be considered. Again, for the ISO 17025, 15189 or other ISO. And also the safety and ethical issue can also be considered. But in the previous version, they did not mention on this. So this means, okay, you need to add something more on the note about this design and planning of the PT scheme. When the PT provider intended to introduce significant change to the activity which affect the validity of the PT scheme, the PT provider shall identify and manage the list. So this is the one that, again, no, this version mentioned again on the list page, every step for the design. So you have to identify and manage the list to ensure that the validity of the PT scheme is maintained. I don't know that you ever done it before, but in other ISO, I think they already mentioned in the other ISO, it is similar. So in each step, you have to do the list, to identify, to have the right to classify what is the low risk, high risk, medium risk. So, and how you manage, how you correct the list. In the requirements, the PTP shall identify design plan those activities with directed effect to the validity of the PT scheme, and shall ensure on the activity that are carried out in accordance with the prescribed procedure. So this is again, the note that they mentioned on the ISO, other ISO. To the list, this is the same. Okay, the example of significant change is approach for PT production, assessment of homogeneity, stability, assigned value, statistics, and new type of PT activity. So these are examples that you need to do the identify and manage the list of when you do the production, when you do assessment. The list is made usually in terms of the statistics. It already have some identify the list. When you did not pass the first criteria, you have the second. When you did not have the second, did not pass the second, what do you do? So that is one of the identify of the list. Or if there are inhomogeneity, if instability, this is one of the list. No? So this is like usually we aware on the list, but we did not have the document. We did not write some step or did not identify the list. So in this version, you have to do about the list. Remember the new version, you have to emphasize on the list and the cross link between the previous version. But the other, I think you did really the same of the previous version. Okay, the 7.2 require a documented plan to clarify the plan is written. Also, make a small change to several bullets that could have the impact the bullet of the required arrangement to prevent corruption, and add the note concerning the measurement uncertainty. On this item, on the static design, they add the bullet to consider measurement uncertainty. The measurement uncertainty of participant result shall be reported. So this is like the new version from summary from the Dr. Dan. No? So you have to see this, but in some more detail, they already writing in the requirement like this. The PTP shall develop a documented plan before the commencement of the PT scheme that address the objective, purpose, basic design of the PT scheme. So the plan should be include the personnel involved in the design and operation, the activity to be undertaken by the external provider of product and service. So if you have in this step, again, usually when you have some organization or some service that you have for example preparation, the lab the testing for homogeneity, the lab testing for stability. This is the external provider service. The criteria that to meet the participant, for example, that you have the testing that you intended for testing only some parameter using HPLC or using some chemistry parameter. So what is the criteria that you wrote into the participant? The number and type, the expected participant. So this is again, if you use the statistics, you be aware on if you have the missing number of participants, they have very difficult to make decision of the statistics that you use. So if you expected at least 12, in the 13.528 mentioned about 12, so it means you can use many statistics that for the assigned value. And depending on the description of activity to be performed and result to be reported by participant, a description of the range, value, or characteristic, or both to be expected for the PT item. This is the one that the PT plan, in the previous version, I think most of the PT provider may receive the car from the PT plan because of there are a lot of items that you need to have in the planning. But if you did not follow the requirement, maybe you have missing some item here. The potential or major source of error, the requirement on production, quality, storage, and distribution. These are the same of the previous version. The arrangement to prevent collusion between participants and or falsification of the result, and the procedure to be employed if the collusion or falsification of result is suspected. The data information will be supplied to the participant and in the time of the schedule. Number K, for the continuous PT scheme, the frequency and the date upon with the PT item will be distributed to participants. The deadline for return we have to do in the plan.
Chika, have some question on the Zoom chat from the QCC UMP. Can you give me some examples of the section 7.2.1.t?
Okay, good. Thank you for the question. Arrangement of prevent corruption. Usually, when you give the number of the participant, the number that you give, so you have to let's say when it may have many ways not to do, but the way you may have separate between when you prepare the sample. Let's say you prepare in the order from 1 to 100, from 1 to 100, and you may have recording the number by using, let's say you have A1, B2, AC. It means you can divide it of the two sample preparation into two groups, but it is the same sample. So this is like one way that you try to prevent the corruption. The second example is if you have like something that you may recording how to say, usually when I do is I prepare a set by coding different number. I usually use some capital A, B, C, but usually are the same sample, but I coding at the A group, B group, C group, but following with the numbering. So this is like my in my example, no. But I don't know. I think there are some example, but I just think about. Are there any example? DSS, do you have some example? You may explain if you have. หนุ่ยมีไหมครับ Event corruption, yeah. But usually when we think that okay, when they have the corruption, we writing at the protocol, looking at the sentence that if we found that you have the corruption between each other, so we will not evaluate that result. But for preventing the corruption is also very difficult. No? That is why it's a good question. So very difficult to prevent. But in my practical way that I do, I already give example that okay, I using the recording. I don't know that is it enough question that I answer.
And have another question. Should we change the order of some samples in panel to avoid the collision?
Yes, you can. Yeah, this is like when some lab ask some another lab, so they know that okay, they got the different number or different order of the sample. Maybe one way that okay, they may when they ask other laboratory, they may got the wrong result. So this is also one way that you can use to avoid the corruption. Yes, there are many ways that you can think about that. Okay, if you are the one that try to prevent to another one, what should we do? Yeah, recoding, reordering, you can. Okay, no? Okay, the planning again. Information on method procedure that participant use, the procedure of measurement or test method that we use for homostay, the preparation of standardized report, the detailed description of statistics, methodological testability and analysis of assigned value. So this is like nearly the same of the previous version, no, of the planning. There are some notes. The assigned value can have uncertainty contribution from sources in addition to the uncertainty of measurement result used for characterization, such as binomial and interpretability different if more than one library is used for characterization. So this is the note that they add more in terms of the methodological and uncertainty. But okay, I think you know that, okay, assign value. Usually we can, okay, for quantitative, no, for qualitative, uncertainty and testability very difficult. So you can say that no testability, no uncertainty, no. But for quantitative, we have the factor, we have the equation that we use for calculated the measurement uncertainty of the assigned value. So that is like the one that we use, but in terms of testability, very difficult. When you use the assigned value based on the consensus, so forgot about the testability. We cannot have the testability. No, I think the methodological testability is the term that used for defining the testable to the top one is the SI unit. The top one is the SI unit. When we have the order of the testability, the first of the hierarchy of the testability is the SI unit. But if you use the SI value, you use the method that have the true value, you have the SI unit. For example, when you analyze by using the isotope dilution technique, that is pretty difficult, no? Isotope dilution. So usually, National Institute of Metrology is the one that can do, but for the general lab, very difficult. So I think very rarely that use the testability to the SI unit for the PTP, no? The second is if something you can testable is the first is the SI unit. The second is you can testable to the CIM. No? When you use the CIM as a test material, so the testability is come from the certificate. But if you prepare by yourself, so the CIM is very difficult that you can use it again. The third one that the testability can have is testable to standard method. No? So if you organization, you use the same method of the participant, everyone use the same method. For example, for method AOC 982.02, so it means this is the method that used for every lab. So you can say that this assigned value that we got, we can testable to the standard method. But if in the group of PT you did not have only one method, it means the testability may not be appropriate. So in summary, you can see the testability is the term that is very difficult for the PTP, that you have for the SI, for the CIM, for the method. That is why I said for the PTP, you can say that, okay, we didn't have any methodological testability. But uncertainty in quantitative you may have, qualitative you may not, you cannot calculate the uncertainty. Okay, come back for the planning. No, we are in the planning of the PT. So this is one item that the requirement require. The treatment of different results from different methods. So this is, I think, you already did. If you have like someone that have the kernel part, like to die model in the peak, so it means they may have some different methods in the data set. So you have to have the treatment, how to do the criteria for evaluate, which sigma PT that you use, which XPT that you use, and what is the criteria that you use. The description of data, interlink or information to be returned to participant. The description extended to the participant result and the conclusion. But this is based on the outcome of the PT scheme. So this is maybe in the PTP, maybe some PT program or PT scheme may not have the outcome that public can use if you run. So in the planning, you may have this item, but you may say that, okay, I didn't have any outcome that to directed to the public. The action to be taken in the case of loss, delay, or damage of PT item. So this is most of the PT plan are nearly the same of the previous version. Okay. Again, if you have any question, okay, I saw it. Let me see now. As far as I understand, the question methodological activity is only used for quantitative testing. Yes. So for the qualitative program, do I need to mention it? Or if not, do I have to replace it with another index, like sensitivity index, sensitivity, for example? No, you don't need. No. But for qualitative program, you can say that because of you run the PT as the qualitative program, you did not have any methodological testability. You just mentioned that you did not have methodological testability and uncertainty for the qualitative. Okay, the second that I saw in the chat is when is the interim report needed? Oh, this is another one. For the interim report, it depends on you. It is not one requirement. If you can run the PT program and you can planning that, okay, after you finish the result from the participant, and you think that, okay, within one month you can finish the report, you can say that, okay, after 1 month you will do the report. But if you have in between, there are a lot of data that you need to do, and you think that, okay, you have to have like the interim report. The interim report is used as like in the middle between the result that you provide and the final report. So the interim report, usually when you intended to use, usually we use for checking the report number, that participant report, right? To have the interim result. For example, you have the assigned value, you have the sigma PT for evaluation, and usually we for Thailand, we didn't evaluate for the interim report. We just show how we have in the result. We have, let's say, result A. Okay, in the interim, we may have only the data that report result A, result B, number A, result number A, result number B. This is like the lab report, and you may have the assigned value that you will intended to evaluate. You may have assigned value here. But usually in the interim, we don't have the C-score or any score for evaluation. So it means that it need to check whether that you transfer data from the report to the calculation template that you have, or let the way that the laboratory can use this report to check their result that they report, and also they compare to the assigned value. So this is why in the interim report, I can say that it depends on your PTP. Some PTP may didn't have the interim report. PTP may have only the final report. If you can within your timeline, so you can say that okay, everything will be presented in the final report. We didn't have interim, it's okay. Okay, I think no more question, no? Okay, thank you. Okay. If you want, you can open your microphone and interrupt me directly now. But if is the one that very sub requirement, they have a lot of sub requirement. But I think when you have the asset, every assessment, we will follow the every sub requirement here. So we have to do everything. But if you didn't have, so you may say that it is not directly to your PT scheme. Okay. Now I move to the 7.2.2 on the statistic design. For the statistic design shall be developed to meet the objective of the PT scheme based on the type of data, quantitative, qualitative, ordinal, nominal, static assumption, type of error, and the expected number of results. So this is again when you have the small number, very difficult for statistics to select the assigned value. This is why the ISO 17043 mentioned on the number that you have to meet the objective. For the 17043 they not mention, but in 13528 in the ISO 13528 is already mentioned again. For the qualitative, static design is okay, may not have much more complicated, because you can say that positive, negative, or only that, the statistic design may be only the percentage of the evaluation score. There are no more statistic design anymore. Okay, the note that involved that add up in this version is the statistic design cover the process of planning of PT scheme and collection, analysis, and reporting the PT scheme of data. The statistic design are often based on the state of objective, such as the detection of certain type of error or specified powder or determination of value with a specified uncertainty. So this is like, it depends on, do you want the participant to report uncertainty or not? If you want, okay, you have to have the statistic design for, okay, you will use theta score, C-palm score, or EM score. So which statistic that you use when you have the uncertainty of the result. Data analysis method can vary from the very simple from the descriptive statistic to the complex using the statistic model with the probability assumption or combination of results for different PT. For the data analysis, this is dealing with the statistic design. So this is simple. It means if you have small group, let's say you have 5 laboratory, you may use only the simple one-way ANOVA, just compare between each group, only that significant test. But when you have more data, so SI value that you have is you can use algorithm A, you can use mean, remove outlier, you can use median. For the much more participants, so the statistic design very easy, in terms of the statistics. I can say that when we have a large group of data, so we can ensure that the statistic is good enough to be at the SI value. The problem is when we have the limit number of participants, that is very difficult to make decision for the SI value. In case where the PT scheme design is mandated by specification given by the statistic design and the data analysis method can be taken directly from the specification. Note 4. In the absence of the reliable information needed to produce a statistic design, a preliminary interlaboratory comparison can be used. So this is like when you use much more statistics, so you can have some step that to be sure that okay, this is good enough for your process. The next number is the PTP provider shall document the static design and data analysis method that you use to determine the SI value and to evaluate the different result. And it shall document the reason for the selection of and the assumption upon the static design and data analysis method based. The PTP shall be able to demonstrate that statistic assumptions are reasonable and the statistic analysis are carried out in accordance with the prescribed procedure. So this like the one that I already mentioned, that the one that you use, so you have to have in your document. When I access, I think some of you are familiar with that. We try to have to see your document. Do you have in your document or not? If you intended to use other statistics, but you didn't have in your document, it means you can use, but you have to rewrite the document again. This is why this ISO intended to you that you have to have the reason why to use. Okay, why you use algorithm A, why you use median. So this is like the way that you can choose, because SI value they may have many ways you got the SI value, but if you have the statistic, you have to mention why. 7.2.2.3 in the designing a statistic analysis, the PT provider shall give consideration of the following: the accuracy as well as uncertainty, require an expected SI value for the each property of characterization. Do you remember the accuracy? Usually when we run the PT, accuracy is very difficult. But if you choose the SI value that come from the NIM, the NIM is National Institute of Metrology. So you may have the accuracy because of they use like the very complicated method. They use very high order of metrological testability method. So this you may got the accuracy from that SI value. The minimum number of participants in the PT scheme needed to meet the objective of the design. Again, when you decide to have, let's say, the algorithm A, you have to have the minimum number of 12 laboratory, 12 participants. Okay, in case where insufficient number of participants meet this objective or produce the statistic meaningful analysis of given result, the PTP shall document and provide to participants and detailed alternatives. When you plan to use the algorithm A as the assigned value, but when you receive the result, you have not meet the requirement of the algorithm A. You have to document and you may choose other alternative approach that to evaluate the participant. The relevance of significant figure to report to participants, including of the decimal places. So the significant figure, it means how many decimal that you need, how many significant figure that you want to ask for the participant to report to you. For example, if I have the PTP on the protein, I may have 2 to 3 significant figure. Let participant report just only one decimal places like this. But if you have in terms of very low concentration, you may say that, okay, you may ask the participant report only the rounded number. You can have 1 number and 2 number, no decimal places. So this is the one that depending on parameter, and you have to have in the design. The number of PT item to be measured or test, and the number of repeated measurement. How many duplicate, how many replicate that if you ask, you have to evaluate. How many number that you send, let's say you send 1 sample, okay, and ask them analyze in duplicate. This is like in the planning already mentioned. If you have to each item analyze in duplicate, so you can write down in your design. The procedure used for establish and also the assign standard deviation of PT. This is like I mentioned on XPT and Sigma PT that we use for evaluate for the quantitative. So we have the procedure how we got this value. For qualitative, qualitative you didn't have this one, so you may got only the positive and negative only. Sorry, I wrote positive and negative. You don't need to have this bullet. The procedure to be used to treat the participant with different measurement or test method. So this is the one that may be very difficult, if you did not ask the measurement method. But if you ask, so you can classify into 2 groups or 3 groups. Let's say for the protein, I don't know that you know about the protein analysis. Some lab may use the using the combustion unit. Some lab may use the Kjeldahl unit. So this we can differentiate into 2 groups. So this is the one that, okay, for the procedure, it means we classify based on the testing method. Whether the measurement uncertainty of the event shall be reported. So if nowadays very few PTP that ask for the measurement uncertainty, but PTP can ask, as I mentioned to you before, that okay, for further improvement, you may evaluate not only the performance, you may evaluate how laboratory calculated the measurement uncertainty. They may have Yeah, EN score or SETA score that you can use for evaluate the measurement of result. Again, for qualitative, no uncertainty, you can say that no measurement uncertainty. The procedure to use to identify handle outlier on both with statistics, with with parameter, which way that we use. As I mentioned earlier that okay, when we have the kernel, when we have the kernel like this, so we can say that this is the outlier that we found. We can, okay, using the kernel to identify the bimodality, or you use for outlier, you may use the simple statistic graph test, Dixon test, if you want to use. So you have to have in the procedure. Where relevance, the procedure for evaluation of the value exclude from the statistics. The last is where appropriate objective to meet the design and frequency of PPT round. So you can see there are a lot of subtopics that concerning on the design and planning. So this is very difficult, no, for the beginning of the PPT because there are a lot of sub requirements here. But I think when you pass the assessment, most of these items are already mentioned and already collected into the requirements. You can see from the previous version and new version, it's nearly the same. You just only cross-check between each other. Every sub requirement, I think it is nearly the same. Okay, 7.3 on the determination of SI value. So the PTP shall document the procedure for the determining the SI value for the property or the characteristic in the particular PT scheme. Where applicable, this procedure shall take into account of the methodological traceability and uncertainty to be demonstrated for the PT scheme if fit for the purpose. So this is the ISO 13528 provided the statistic method for determining the SI value. This means you have to have the document with way that you use for SI value. PT scheme in the area of calibration shall be SI value with methodological traceability. In terms of the PTP for calibration, I think for Vietnam, I think that you still didn't have the PTP for the calibration, but in Thailand we have the PT program for the calibration for glassware, for some material that we have. But when you run this, it means the emphasis on this is the methodological traceability you have to have. But for the PP, general PT, you can say that, okay, this is not related to this item, for the PTP.
อาจารย์คันชิตค่ะ
Yes.
There are some questions on the Zoom chat.
Yes.
Is there any guideline document to treat the participant results from different measurements or test method?
Okay, thank you. That is really difficult, no? Okay, thank you for the question. Because of when you think about the SI value, this is why the 17043 already mentioned on you have to ask for the method that participant use. It will help you in terms of when you have, if you have when you run the kernel, let's say in the quantitative, no, in the quantitative, when you run the kernel part, I think when you got the kernel density part very let's say one modality, it's very easy to make sure that okay, this SI value is suitable for you. But if you have bimodarity, let's say you have this, no guideline, but you have to use the technical consideration. For the statistics, we don't know how different between this value and this value. Let's say this is O, this is A. In the statistics, we don't know which is correct, which is mistake. But based on the technical, let's say this is the method that you use. This group use the standard method. Okay, for example, for protein, no, this is use the scale down. This is use the combustion. So we can make sure that based on the standard method, it's better than the routine method or the combustion method. You can use the SI value here as the answer and evaluate everything. So come back to the question, any guideline document? No. You have to have your team that have the experience in your field. I recommended you have your supervisor, you have your what do you call I call the advisor or your supervisor, to classify what is the different, what is the in terms of the analytical method, which one is better, which one is good for you. But if you didn't have any technical problem or any technical in terms of the difference, you can combine everything. Let's say when you have like small peak of the kernel like this, we cannot classify between this method and this method. So you may calculate it using everything here. So in summary is this question, I can say that no documented guideline. But again, I mentioned on the technical aspect. So please come back to your advisor, to your advisory committee to make decision on the SI value. Okay. I think I answered the question. Okay. Yes. I come back to this. Let's say I want to clear my okay, come back to this slide again. So I think this already okay. The next is for the PT scheme in the area other than calibration. Okay, this is the general PTP. The relevance, need, and flexibility for the establishing of the methodological traceability and the associated uncertainty of the SI value shall be determined by taking into account of the purpose of PT scheme. So this is again that I already mentioned that when you have the SI value, when you think about the SI value, you have to think about the, okay, I need to write again, sorry. SI value, for the quantitative, you have to think about how to get the XPT. how you get the sigma pt, no, and uncertainty of XPT and methodological testability. No, this one. For the assigned value, these you have to think about is like the combined together between XPT, sigma pt, and uncertainty or assigned value measurement testability. So if your assigned value come from the NIM, so you can say that, or we can flexible to the SI. If it come from consensus from the group, or either consensus from the expert group, we can say that we can calculate uncertainty, but not measurement testability. So this is like to let you know on this requirement. When a consensus value is used as the assigned value, PT provider shall provide estimated uncertainty. So we can do. We have equation 1.25 multiplied by S star divided by square root T. So it is in the 13.528. We can calculate it. The PT provider shall have the policy regarding the disclosure of the assigned value. Okay. Generally, we will not open the answer before we closing the program. So this is like to have the policy that how you protected the participant to know the result, the answer. Okay, PTP shall ensure that participant cannot gain advantage from early disclosure. It means if you have like something that you tell participant, and from that one, the participant can know about the result. This is maybe very easy when you have for the qualitative program, positive, negative. They may have like some, some information that they may know. Let's say you prepare the sample using the sterile technique. So it means that this should be negative. So just be aware when you have the documented or you have communication with the participant. Just be aware on the assigned value that should be not disclosed for the participant. Okay, I have some. Okay, can the answer a question? Sorry, I got some notice that they had some question on. Can the assigned value be based on homogeneous assessment result, specific quantitative program? Validity. Okay, this is also have much more discussion. So if the method that you use for homogeneity assessment, it is the same as the method that participants use, that is very difficult. No? Because when you use the homogeneity assessment, okay, you run 10 samples in duplicate, but this is only your lab. This is the PTP lab, or this is the external provided service lab. So this is, I can say that this may have a list, because of when you use only one lab as the assigned value, they may not apply to every lab. You ask about can be used. I said yes and no. You can use if your method you have very higher order of methodological testability than the other lab. You can use. But if you use the same standard method, you use the same method of participant, I think you cannot use, because you have to why you are the one that to be as the representative of assigned value, because some participating lab may say that, okay, I use the same of your method, but why different result that happen? So this is for this question, I can say that yes and no. So it depends on the method that you use for testing homogeneity. Okay. Are there any questions? Okay. Thank you, YouTube. For the next is on 7.3.2 on assessment homogeneity and stability. Now, this is from Dan again. From Dan. Just when we got the slide from Dan, just mention the idea, and after that I will follow with the full requirement. Okay, in section 7.3.2 intended to clarify that the assessment of the homogeneity and stability shall be done on the basis of list, and experimental evidence might not be necessary for the PT item. So this is like in when you run the routine, there are other way how to demonstrate the homogeneity that I will. The 17043. Okay, now 7.3.1 on the production of the PT item. The PT provider shall establish and implement procedure to ensure that the PT items are produced in accordance with the plan. So when you plan to have the PT program, do you need to have let's say uncertainty? So the production should be aware on the measurement uncertainty. The PT provider shall establish and implement the procedure to ensure the appropriate selection, acquisition, correction, identification, preparation, handling, storage, and disposal of the PT item. So this is like, again, you remember I mentioned, not I, 13, the new version already mentioned on the production that you need to follow the different material producer in the 17034 that you have to follow step by step of the RM producer, RM production. In the PT scheme that require the participant to the sample, prepare and manipulate PT item and submit to the PT provider. PT shall issue appropriate instruction for preparation, environmental condition, packaging, handling, storage, and shipping. So this is that I think in the previous version did not mention on this aspect, but in this version they have much more in the instruction on this parameter. In terms of the homogeneity stability assessment, the criteria for suitable homogeneity stability shall be established and shall be based on the list again, that in homo and in state can impact the variation. If someone that what do you call, have attending with me, so they have the way that when the sample are in homogeneity and instability, they may have 3 ways to choose from the 13.5 to 8. So this is, you can identify that it's a list for each step again. The procedure for assessment hormone stage shall be documented and conducted. So this is, you already have it, I think. The assessment hormone stage shall be performed for every PT round after PT item has been packaged in their final form. Okay, the one that we found is some lab. When you prepare the sample finish, you grinding, mixing, homogenizing everything, and finally you take some sample to take the homogeneity. That is not meet the requirement here. So it means after you prepare, you have to pack into small bag and ready to send to the participant. Later on, you will sampling using the random, using the stratified sampling, and then take the homogeneity and stability analysis. So it means this should be packed into the final form. No? It should be in the final form. Okay, homogeneity can be demonstrated prior to packaging. And there are exemptions where no influence on the packaging is reasonably expected, or when stability study indicates that test material is preferable stored in the bulk form. So this is, you have much more evidence that why. Because of usually this is in the requirement is stronger than in the note, but this is like some exemption. If you have some evidence that okay, when we prepare in the bulk form, so it indicates the significance. I think in the bulk form, let's say in the liquid, when you prepare like in the drinking water, very easy. So when you make a packaging later on, so they are not a problem. But if you have like the fluidmatic, or you have like the powder, that is very difficult for representative of the bulk form. So this is very difficult for PTP that you have to demonstrate. Different approach for the assessment homogeneity, including situation where experiment is not feasible. Described in Annex B in, as I mentioned, in 13.528 and in Guide 35. This is the reference material, This is reference material, but okay, you can choose which one that you can use. Okay. Where the experiment evidence is needed to assess homogeneity and stability of PT or both, the PTP shall use appropriate method for assess the homoassay. Okay, this is I mentioned. The PT item shall be demonstrated to be sufficient stable to ensure that they will undergo any significant change throughout the conduct of PT lab, including the storage and transport. This is like when you run the stability testing. Usually they have transport like in the short time on the end of study, let's say 1 month, 2 months. So this is you have only sufficient. You remember for the statistic that I mentioned, if you pass the criteria of the first one, usually they call the adequately homogeneous, adequately stable. But if you did not pass the first criteria, the 13.528 have the sufficiently. So this is like the minimum that we can demonstrate the sufficiently. If it's not sufficient, this is the list that we have to demonstrate, that the way how you have the list on in homo or instability. When PT item from previous PT round are retained for another PT round, the property value or characteristic to be determined in the PT scheme shall be confirmed. So let's say you have a bulk sample and this PT round you use only some part, let's say half of them, and you run the PT program. And in the next 2 years after that, when you intended to use this bar again, you may not perform the full option of the homogeneity, 10 samples, the stability, 4 samples for transport, 4 samples for NO30. So you can reduce the number of that one just to use for confirm before you distribution. No. Okay. Before that, I found some. Okay, let me see. Okay. For qualitative section does not apply its slide. Let me see. 7223, 7223, 7223 should be this one, no? Yes. No. It means uncertainty and homogeneity. Sorry. Uncertainty and testability. Okay. It's not applied. The second question is, please share some example of list characteristics and attendance step in the PTP scheme for HOMO and stay assessment. So I already mentioned that, okay, if you have the statistic that demonstrate on the adequately homogeneity, adequately stability is okay. If you did not pass, you use the sufficiently. The criteria for acceptance was expanded a little bit. So if you pass this criteria, okay, it's good. You can use C-score for evaluation. If you did not pass this criteria, so this is the list that you found. So you can say that this is, you have to identify that, okay, for the homogeneity, they may have 3 ways as I mentioned. The first, you will include the standard deviation of the sampling in the sigma PT. The second is you use the C-palm score by adding the uncertainty of assigned value with the sigma PT. And the last one is you may not use, you may prepare the new batch. So this is the list that you found. It means you have to identify, okay, this is your list, and how to solve the list is you have 3 ways in the 13.2a. But which way that you use, which way that you choose for your PTP. So you have to identify and you can manage in the future. This is the way that you can write down the list of each step. The last question is, can you give an example of transport stability assessment? All the same. Okay, sorry, most of topic that I give you, I usually example in the quantitative, in the quantitative. For the qualitative is only not much statistic point of view. Okay, I will give example for qualitative later. Okay, come back to the example of transport stability. We use the same. For the transport, we prepare, after we prepare the sample, we pack it into small bags. For the transport stability, usually we can have 2 ways. The first, we can send the prepared sample, send to the longest time that you transport. Used for the transport stability. The second is you can put the sample that you prepare into the oven and stimulate that. Okay, let's say you in the temperature in Thailand, let's say the maximum is 45. So you can put into the oven 50 degrees Celsius for 2 weeks or for 1 week, depending on your transport. And after 1 week or 2 weeks, you bring it out from the oven and analyze. That is you testing for the transport. So this is the two way of transport stability. For the assessment, the statistic use the same. The statistic is use the mean difference between the homogeneity and the stability. When you testing transport, the mean of transport. When you testing end of result, the mean of end of result compared to the homogeneity. The absolutely of this difference should be less than 0.5 sigma pt. So this is in terms of the quantitative. For the qualitative, you can using the same protocol. You can send 2 times go and back, or you can use accelerate temperature. For the statistic, just only compare to the assigned value. Assigned value, if you prepare in the positive, so it means you check check state, it should be the same as assigned value. For qualitative, it's easy. Okay, the another last question is, do you have any form for interim report? Can you give me a reference maybe this afternoon? I didn't have the in my for when I am the PT provider, for our PTP, for my PTP, I didn't prepare the interim report, but I will looking for some PTP in Thailand that I am participate. Okay, I will try and to let you know in the afternoon if I have. Okay, now I think I answer all question, and I think the time is
Now it's time
for lunch.
for lunch. I think everybody to waiting for lunch. Okay.
Okay, but if you have much more questions, so you can put into the chat, I will come back and respond to you in the afternoon. Okay.
And after that, you have the lunch for 1 hour. You have for 1 hour, and you will come back to the Zoom application for this training course in 1 p.m. Okay.
Okay, ครับ
Okay, see you